Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob as we scream at the top of our lungs. For the spaghetti monster's sake, we said the southern border. The southern border has had an issue for decades. We wanted a president to deal with the issues at the southern border. What the hell does this have to do with international students at Harvard? Oh, Lordy, stop. I know the first thing that I'm going to get from the peanut gallery. Eli, I thought you were a computer guy and you should be talking about latency and IOPS and that kind of thing. Why are you talking about Trump trying to ban international students going to Harvard, Eli? Eli, this has nothing to do with technology. And I actually kind of think that's funny because for some reason, I guess doing my research and everything, I've been getting a feed of like the Gamers Nexus types folks. So Gamers Nexus and Jay's 2 cents and those types of people. And I've been listening to these reviews of graphics cards. Who cares? Who cares? They sit there, they come up with these charts, they talk about these different games. Apparently in this game, this graphics card gets you 100 frames per second, but in another game you only get 99 frames per second. And that, I guess matters, right? And the funny thing that I find, again, being in the technology world, for 30 years, almost 30 years now, is I look at things like the graphics cards and honestly could care less. I don't think that's actually that important for our industry. But I look at what Trump is doing and I'm actually terrified for our industry. But a lot of the young folks out there don't understand why. Right? And the reason is because when you go out to get a job, right? If you're gonna go and you're gonna buy a graphics card and you're gonna slap it into your computer and you're gonna be in your basement and you're going to ignore the world, right? Things like, macro forces and all that kind of stuff probably don't seem like they matter to you. But here's the thing. Do you want to be able to afford that graphics card? Do you want companies to put out AAA games or not put out AAA games or do whatever it is you do or don't want them to do? Right, that's where macro forces come in. Again, when we talk about 1% interest rates, one of the reasons video games have become insane over the past decade, again, insane. You have games where people literally say, well, I've only put 300 hours into this game. The reason these games have become so idiotic is because there has been so much money sloshing around the system because of 1% interest rates due to the 2008 financial crisis that basically, again, high net worth individuals take the money at 1%, put it into something. They're like, hey, look, video games are a thing we're going to put into, and they dump it into the video game market. And then all of a sudden, you now have just so many games that take hundreds and hundreds of hours to play. Again, it is fascinating for me. I buy one game and I play it till I get bored. I don't even beat games anymore. I don't even remember the last game I beat. I just can't do it, right? But here's the thing. I find it funny with video game reviewers because they have so many of these games that you have 100 hours of playtime. But they're one comes out this week and then another one comes out a few days later and then another one comes out a few days later. It's how the hell can you even review these games? It's so damn big. Right? And so that's the thing. It's when I talk about these topics, and you're like, what does this have to do with the technology industry? A lot. A lot. Anywho, right? I talk about the questions that I get from students. So running silicondojo.com. I take calls from students and, I want to answer questions about stacks and that type of thing. Instead, I get two questions. I get the two most infuriating questions that I really don't know how to answer for folks. The first is, how do I get a job? Right? Which is going to be harder. When you destroy the economy, jobs become more difficult to obtain. So anyways. First question I get is, how do I get a job? Not, hey, Eli, I would like to develop apps in the mobile environment. What should my track be? Hey, Eli, I like building robots. What should my track be? Hey, Eli, I like technology, but I also like the sunlight. What should my track be? I don't get those kind of questions. I get a job. What kind of job do you want? A job. Okay, yeah, but what are you interested in? A job. Yeah, but what do you like? Where do you see your future in 5 years? A job. God damn it. Anyway, so that's the first most infuriating question I get. The second most infuriating question I get is, Eli, how do I get to the United States? I hate that. Oh my God, it's almost worse than the whole job question. The worst is when you get the job question from a person who wants to come to the United States. And then you're like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you, right? I get all these people and like, Eli, how do I get to the United States? And here's the thing. I have many friends and relations and the whole nine yards for years and years and years, foreign folks who have come to the United States. And the thing is, though, even before this administration and even before the first time this administration was around, the problem is we have a disaster of an immigration policy. It's not that you can't get here. I know both highly qualified, high quality people that have gotten here, and I know fucking idiots that have gotten here. The problem is that we don't have a good system. Again, one of the things that we should solve for. Hey, what if we got a reasonable system in place to deal with our immigration policy? Wouldn't that be lovely? But no, we're not gonna get hospitals, and we're not gonna get trade schools, and we're not gonna get good immigration policy, right? But one of the things is, I get from a lot of folks is like, how do I get to the United States? And the thing is, I know lots of people. Again, I've had friends and such who have come in as refugees. I've had people who come in as technical. They have technical skills that allow them to get here. I literally had a manager once. Again, how stupid our immigration policy is. Back when I was going through college, right? The manager at the Papa John's I worked for was a U.S. citizen. And the interesting thing, I was talking to him about how he became a U.S. citizen. And he was like, yeah, well, I had to be in the country for like 8 years. He's like, he had to be in the country for like 8 years to get the green card. And I was like, oh, well, if you weren't a citizen or whatever, like, how did you get a visa to be in the country for 8 years to get the green card? He's like, no. I was like, what? He was an illegal immigrant for like 8 years in the United States. But living in the United States for 8 years was the requirement for getting a green card. So he was illegally in the country for 8 years that got him to the point that he could get his green card, and then he got a citizenship. At which point, look, good guy, nice guy. But it's one of those times, you're like, dude, this system is so dumb. It is so dumb. So basically, you come here illegally. You just ride it out breaking the law in order to get the requirement to get your green card, at which point you become legal. And then you get your citizenship, and then your kids are legal, and now you're all Americans. How do I explain that to the young Egyptian that I'm talking to? It's a complicated one. But anyways, one of the things I've talked about for a while, again, because I deal with my students. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these meetings. God knows how many of them have been foreign folks trying to get to the United States. Is one of the things that I've told a lot of people is that our system is idiotic. And again, I started doing these one-on-ones back in 2015, before the first Trump administration. And the thing I told folks back then is that our immigration system is just idiotic. It's just stupid. It's ineffective. It's stupid. It's bad for everybody involved. And so one of the things that I've warned people, non-Americans who are trying to come to the United States, is, I try to give them a path they can go on. Again, you can try to get hired by a multinational company, get hired by Google, get hired by IBM, get hired by one of these companies, and then try to transfer in. Again, that's a possibility there. Again, go to college if you have enough money. You pay a lot of money, you can go to our college, maybe you can come to college, right? But one of the things that I point out to a lot of folks is the whole question of, do you actually want to come to the United States? Again, I talk about the thing of the name, right? We name this thing, and then we say we want that. But then one of the questions we have to ask ourselves is, do we actually want this thing that we say? Like, I want to be an American. I want to live in the United States. And here's the thing, you may, but is that what you really want? Do you really want to be an American, or do you want to have a house? Do you really want to be in the United States, or do you want to have, more freedom of speech, right? More financial ability. Again, do you want the American way, or do you just want to build stuff with technology? And one of the things I've talked about for a while is, again, if you look around the world, there are a lot of places in the world that are developing in interesting ways with technology that might be better for you, legitimately. Again, we talk about like autonomous robots, autonomous aircraft, that type of thing. I do believe it's Rwanda with the Zips. There are these autonomous aircraft in Rwanda. They've been flying for 10 years now. And the reason is because because they created this autonomous aerial delivery system, and Rwanda allowed them to launch it, to literally launch it and run it, because they had so many people dying every day, right? They have these hospitals and these clinics, and they're out in the jungles or whatever. Somebody comes in, they need blood, they need medication, they need it immediately. Their road system is dog shit. Just dog shit, right? And so basically the only way to get blood and all those supplies out to those clinics is by these aerial autonomous vehicles. And so Rwanda looked at it and said, well, maybe every once in a while, one of these aircraft might fall out of the sky and might kill somebody. It is a possibility that somebody might die because of one of these autonomous aerial aircraft. On the other hand, countless people are dying literally every day under our current system. So they authorized these, and they've been going along for 10 years now, saved God knows how many lives at this point, and is an interesting, push into the future of technology. Again, if you want to do autonomous aerial delivery in the United States, you got to go through the FAA, you got to go through all this stuff. Oh, maybe, yeah, but what if? And again, it's interesting, if you really care, if you're really passionate about technology, that's what you all tell me. You all tell me how passionate you are. Well, if you're really passionate about technology, frankly, out in the jungle in Rwanda or whatever, might be a better place for you to actually go out and deploy and build and create something in technology. Again, it's interesting with cell phone payments, not smartphone payments, cell phone payments, right? The banking system in Africa, again, wasn't up to snuff. They put in cell phone towers, not really internet towers, cell phone towers years ago. They were trying to figure out how to do financial transactions. And Africa was actually, or many places in Africa, were at the forefront of mobile financial transfers well before anybody in the United States was really thinking that much about it. Right? Because they actually had a problem, new technology came in, they figured out how to use that new technology to solve problems that they already had, and they solved it in ways that are different than how I would have solved something in the United States. And so one of the things that I point out for a lot of the non-Americans out there is, do you really want to come to the United States? You say you want to come to the United States, but do you? And the issue that we're running into now, and why you really need to be thinking about this, is we had an idiotic system before. To be clear, under Biden, we had an idiotic system. Under Trump, the first time we had an idiotic system. Under Obama, under Bush, under Clinton. It's been a long time since we've had a reasonable system. Maybe Reagan. It's either that Reagan was the last time we had a reasonable immigration system, or I was just so young during the Reagan era, I didn't know the difference. It's just been a long, this whole immigration thing, it was, when I was in high school in the early 90s, this was a dinner table conversation idiocy. And so the thing to consider, and why I'm talking about this with the Trump administration going after Harvard and what it means in a larger macro scale, is basically however stupid our system was yesterday, it is getting exponentially more stupid by the day. And so you really have to think, again, from a risk tolerance standpoint, even if you think you want to come to the US right now, is it worth the hoops and everything that you have to go through in order to get here, and to realize that even once you get here, once you've made that risk, even once you put the money on the table, once you put all that time and energy, you can literally be tossed out like trash. Again, big tech, right? Big tech, when they did those layoffs, tens of thousands of employees at a go, right? Our employment visas here for foreigners, right, are 90 days. Once you lose your job, you have 90 days, 90 days to find another job. So you bought a house, or you have a lease, you have a wife, or you have a girlfriend you want to get married to, or whatever else. You lose a job. Look, that happens, right? I'm not gonna snark on Mark Zuckerberg for firing a lot of people. Again, a lot of geeks need to lose their jobs. But the issue is how our immigration system works. You lose your job due to nothing, no issue on your side. All of a sudden, not only are you out of your job, but you might get the kicked out of this country in the blink of an eye, and there's not a hell of a lot you can do about it. And so one of the things, again, for my non-American viewers to really think about, and why I'm talking about this, is basically, does it still make sense from a risk tolerance standpoint to try to bet on your future being in the United States. And the argument from the American standpoint, again, I would warn folks out there, is what happens when foreigners stop seeing the United States as the place to go to. Again, I'm just gonna put this on the table. You do with it as you like. When you look at the CEO of Uber, does he look like me? When you look at the CEO of NVIDIA, does he look like me? Do we look at the CEO of AMD, does she look like me? When you look at the CEO of Google, does he look like me? Microsoft, does he look like me? Got a lot of big tech companies there that don't quite have the same complexion that I do. And the important thing to think about, right? Again, you can complain about H-1B visas all you want. Again, there's policies and things that we need to do in the United States that we need to be careful about. And again, we need to have rational immigration policies. But what happens when basically overnight one person, one administration can say the door is closed on the rest of the world, and all of a sudden those really smart people that are in the rest of the world have to figure out where else they're gonna go. Again, we got Einstein because his ass got kicked out of Europe. We got a lot of brilliant people because their asses got kicked out of Europe. That's one of the things that allowed us to really be powerful over the past 100 years. Here's the thing. What happens to the next Einstein? What happens when the next Einstein is rejected from the United States? Like what does that do to our country? And then also, again, from that technology standpoint, what does that do to our overall industry? Okay, boys and girls, so we've got some reading to do. So this is a letter from Homeland Security directly to Harvard. The Secretary for Homeland Security is so proud of this letter. She is beaming because she's a good girl. Anyways, she's so proud of this letter, she posted it onto Twitter so everybody can see the absolute insanity of this administration. Maureen Martin, Harvard University, blase, May 22nd. So this was a couple of days ago. Harvard's Student and Exchange Visitor Program decertification. So basically what this is the Department of Homeland Security is now stating that Harvard cannot have any international students. Now, depending on where you look at the numbers, the percent of students at Harvard is somewhere between like 27 to 31% are international students. And basically what the Department of Homeland Security is saying is it is not a right for Harvard to be able to have international students. It is a privilege. And again, this is something to be very concerned about in the United States. It's very dangerous in the United States when the government starts basically declaring what is a right and what is a privilege, right? A senile old loser in the White House is now declaring what he will allow you to do. And so the issue here is they're going to decertify Harvard for being able to accept international students, and any international students that are currently at Harvard have to go to a different school or lose their visas. And again, think about how insidious this is. Think about how destructive this is for us within the eyes of the world. So you have students that are already here, right? So here's the thing. Right? He puts out some policy to say Harvard can no longer accept any new international students. Now that's its own kind of screwed up. That's his own kind of screwed up. That's his own kind of stupid. Again, the question I have is when the hell did he get this power? Again, separation of powers. When did he get this power? When did he get all the power? But anyways, that would be stupid on its own. But here's the thing. Think about this. You have students that have worked all of their lives to be able to get into an institution like Harvard. Again, getting into Harvard, especially from a foreign country, is a big deal. Think about how hard it is in the United States. Now think about if you're foreign, right? You got to make sure your grades and everything are up to snuff. You got to have the money. Again, in the United States, we have these different levels of tuition. international students pay the idiotic amount. In-state tuition is slightly painful. Out-of-state tuition is like, oh my golly. International students are like, what the... Who has that kind of money? Anyways, you got to pay that kind of money. Then again, think about this. Again, if you're a college student, you're not just going a couple states away. You're going to an entirely different country where you may not, where the language might not be your first language. Think about all the stress and everything that goes along with that. And then once you come here, there's a lot of rules and regulations that you're under when you come here. And there's a whole big Megillah that goes along with that for somebody to decide that they're going to come to the United States as a foreign student. And now imagine this. Now imagine this. It is not a year before you're supposed to fly off to Harvard that you're told you're not going to be able to go to Harvard. Imagine if you're a junior or a sophomore. You have already done this. You've already put the money in, the time, the energy. You've gotten comfortable, the whole 9 yards. And now some psychotic old loser in the White House who's having a fit because people aren't on their knees groveling to him. Don't they know he's the most impressive president to ever exist? The tears are streaming out of his eyes because he doesn't understand why people don't see his greatness. You are now going to be punished for that. Right? Because that's the alpha dog way. And again, this is why I despise the alpha dogs. Right? The alpha. An alpha is a fucking dog. We are a country of human beings. But an alpha dog doesn't care. An alpha dog doesn't care how many people they destroy, how many innocents they damage, just so long as they are groveled to. Right? And so think about this on the international stage. You have all of these students at Harvard in the blink of the eye. They are losing their future because of a sniveling old shit. And what does that do to us on the international stage? Because you might say, well, it's Harvard. Eli, Harvard is. Right? Your hat is so red. You got the biggest red hat, the most impressive red hat. Eli, what you got to understand about Harvard is, even if you're going to go that route, but the problem is, where does it stop? He's already gone after Columbia. He's already gone after other universities. If it's Harvard now, is it Columbia tomorrow? Is it MIT the day after? Is it Yale the day after that? Is it Stanford the day after that? Again, right? Because he drinks Diet Coke. He mainlines a few liters of Diet Coke, and we have no idea what policies he's going to crap out in his psychotic state of mind. And so if you're an international student or if you're an international parent, do you want to deal with this crap? Again, we talk about the options. We talk about the options in life. And again, many times you pick a bad option because the bad option is better than the other one, right? Okay, it's gonna cost a lot of money to go to Harvard. Okay, my kid is gonna have to leave home for 4 years to go to Harvard. Okay, there's gonna be this rigmarole and blah, blah, blah to go to Harvard. But look, they're gonna get a good education. They're gonna get a Harvard degree out of it. A Harvard degree is valuable. Again, notice this. Notice who Trump is screwing. Ford, the largest manufacturer in the United States, is having conniptions because even as the largest manufacturer in the United States, they still need to import components to go into their vehicles. Trump doesn't give a damn about the largest manufacturers in the United States. Again, Apple, he's threatening to put a 25% tariff on all their smartphones. A $3 trillion company, literally either the most valuable or one of the most valuable companies in the United States, depending on what's going on in the stock market today. And he doesn't give a damn because he's an alpha dog. Again, NVIDIA's having conniptions, the other one that might be the most valuable company in the United States. And they're having conniptions because he's putting all kinds of, limitations on what they can sell and what they can do and everything else. And he doesn't care because he's the alpha dog. And now Harvard, right? Again, from a university standpoint, everybody in the world knows Harvard, right? That is a massive brand value for the United States. Does he care? Does he give a shit if he destroys that value? Again, I really have to ask the question, how much did Putin pay? How much did it cost Putin for Trump to decide to destroy the United States? Or is he just doing it for free? Anyways, Harvard Student and Exchange Visitor Program decertification. I am writing to inform you that effective immediately, because everything's immediately in the Trump administration, Harvard University Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification is revoked. And so again, people still haven't finished graduating, even for 2025 yet, or 2024, whatever it is. As I explained to you in my April letter, it is a privilege to enroll foreign students. You will grovel to us, or we won't give you the privilege. And it is also a privilege to employ aliens on campus. All universities must comply with Department of Homeland Security requirements, including reporting requirements under the Student and Exchange Visitor Program regulations to maintain this privilege. As a result of your refusal to comply with multiple requests to provide the Department of Homeland Security pertinent information while perpetuating an unsafe campus environment that is hostile to Jewish students, promotes pro-Hamas sympathies, and employs racist, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, you have lost this privilege. We don't like how you're running things, and therefore you don't get the privilege no more. I would say for certain folks, I don't think this is going to work out how you think it's going to work out. I'm just going to put that on the table and slide it across. Do y'all think you're winning? Y'all think you're winning? Anyways, the revocation of your Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification means that Harvard is prohibited from having any aliens on F or J non-immigrant status for the 2025-2026 academic school year. This decertification also means that existing aliens on F or J non-immigrant status must transfer to another university in order to maintain their non-immigrant status. Right? We will make sure everybody possible endures the most amount of pain. This action should not surprise you and is the unfortunate result of Harvard's failure to comply with simple reporting requirements. But it's curious, they say they did comply. On April 16th, 2025, so about 1 month ago, I requested records pertaining to non-immigrant students enrolled at Harvard University, including information regarding misconduct and other offenses that would render foreign students inadmissible or removable. On April 30th, 2025, Harvard's counsel provided information that he represented as responsive to my request. It was not. So we're talking about 2 weeks, basically, after they responded to the request. Homeland Security is pulling everything. They say they responded to it as a courtesy that Harvard was not legally entitled to. Look at how nice the petulant baby is trying to be to you. The petulant baby is trying to be nice. But you just will not grovel. Entitled to, the acting DHS General Counsel responded on my behalf and afforded Harvard another opportunity to comply. Harvard again provided, so they provided information, an insufficient response. Again, she's making this public. She's putting this out to the world. What was insufficient about it? Do you notice this about the Trump administration? They say you did wrong, but they won't actually tell you what you did wrong. Right? Again, they're about to put 50% tariffs on Europe. Why? Who the fuck knows? Who knows? What could Europe do to not get 50% tariffs? Who knows? They need to do better. What is better? Right? Whatever the petulant little baby wants right at this particular point in time. And that's what you notice with all of this. They're not actually stating truly what was not done. They're just saying, we don't find your actions to be acceptable. In a free country, we demand you get on your knees. You know, it is funny. It is funny that he pardoned all the January 6th folks. I'm just going to put that on the table and slide it across. You do realize this petulant little man-child pardoned all the January 6th folks. Funny that. Funny that. Anyways, consequences must follow to send a clear signal to Harvard and all universities that want to enjoy the privilege of enrolling foreign students that the Trump administration will enforce the law and root out the evils of anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism in society and campus. Again, and think about this, anti-Americanism. What the fuck is anti-Americanism? You spoiled little shit. Americanism is the freedom of speech. Americanism is the right to protest. Right? This, you're going to start talking about anti-Americanism when you don't know whether our Justice Department should deal with habeas corpus for illegal immigrants? When Trump literally states he does not know if he is required to uphold the Constitution. This guy is so fucking senile. And yet he talks about anti-Americanism. The fucking president doesn't know whether or not he needs to uphold the Constitution. And this son of a bitch talks about anti-Americanism? Anyways, had a cup of coffee about 8 hours ago. What is the half-life of caffeine? What is the half-life of caffeine? If Harvard would like the opportunity of regaining student and exchange visitor program certification before the upcoming academic school year, you must provide all of the information requested below within 72 hours. Right? You notice this. Now. We will tell you you're wrong. We will tell you we are not happy with your response, and you must comply. Again, in 72 hours. Please be advised that providing materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent information may subject you to criminal prosecution. Other criminal and civil sanctions may also apply. Again. I expect full and complete responses to the following requests. 1, any and all records. And again, think about this when they say things like any and all records. Again, if you're an actual technology professional and you deal with data, imagine getting any and all records. Any and all records, whether official or informal. And think about that, informal. How do you collect informal information? Anyways, in the possession of Harvard University, including electronic records and audio or video footage regarding illegal activity, whether on or off campus, by a non-immigrant student enrolled in Harvard University in the last 5 years. Any and all records, whether official or informal, in the possession of Harvard University, including electronic records and audio or video footage regarding dangerous or violent activity, whether on or off campus, by a non-immigrant student enrolled at Harvard in the last 5 years. Any and all records, whether formal or informal, in the possession of Harvard University, including electronic records, audio or video regarding threats to other students or university personnel, whether on or off campus, by a non-immigrant student enrolled in Harvard University in the last 5 years. Any and all records, whether official or informal, in the possession of Harvard University, including electronic records and audio or video footage regarding deprivation of rights or of other classmates or university personnel, whether on or off campus, by a non-immigrant student enrolled in Harvard University in the past 5 years. Again, what exactly is deprivation of rights, especially in the Trump era? Anyways, and think about this. When we talk about audio and video footage, again, if you're actually in the technology world, whether or not you agree with this, you're like, Eli, this all sounds reasonable. Okay, even if you do think this sounds reasonable, imagine trying to go through and get audio and video footage and anything else, and then actually package that shit up into anything that makes a damn bit of sense to the person that you're handing it over. Hey, we need the data. Can you give me the data in 72 hours? I can get you data in 72 hours. I might get arrested if I give you the data in 72 hours because you're not going to know what the fuck to do with the data in 72 hours. There's a difference between getting data in 72 hours and getting usable data within 72 hours. But don't tell the petulant man baby that shit. That boy doesn't understand technology. Understands fucking technology apparently about as well as he understands the economy. Anyways, any and all disciplinary records of all non-immigrant students enrolled in Harvard University in the last 5 years, any and all audio or video footage in possession of Harvard University of any protest activity involving a non-immigrant student on a Harvard University campus in the last 5 years. And think about that. So if any non-immigrant protested on Harvard campus, all that information is supposed to be packed up and given to the Trump administration so that they can be locked in fucking prison, punished for their viewpoints, and kicked the fuck out of the country. Again, I'll just put this on the table for a certain class of people. I don't think you're winning the fight you think you're winning. I'm just gonna state that. When I look at the rights of my country and who is most dangerous to the rights of my country, I think you might misunderstand where that conclusion goes. Sincerely, Secretary of Homeland Security. So this is what got pushed through a couple of days ago. So Harvard is going to lose the ability to take in new transfer students, new non-immigrant students. Non-immigrant students that are here must forcefully be transferred out because the information that was provided up until this point in time, again, they say information was provided. They literally state information provided, but it wasn't good enough. Why wasn't it good enough? Who the hell knows? So now within 72 hours, again, all of this information has to be handed over to the United States government, the federal government. The federal government that does not believe in the right to habeas corpus. Again, we want to talk about non-American, right? Mass data collection to be given over to the jackbooted stormtroopers so that houses can be raided, so that people can be thrown in prison and ejected from this country. Not just ejected from this country, but God knows where they're actually going to be ejected to. They're going to be ejected to wherever the hell Trump decides that they're going to get ejected to. And this motherfucker thinks that shit's Americanism. So this currently is now apparently on hold temporarily. Judge temporarily blocks this particular policy under First Amendment rights. Again, which is a wise thing, but it is only temporary. And the rate that the Trump administration is going with things, this temporary thing will probably be overturned, within a period of time. Trump then went out onto Truth Social, because that's where what's going through his brain. And again, this is from I think today, May 25th. Yeah, May 25th. So this is from, again, I don't know, 12 hours ago. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social, quote, "Why isn't Harvard saying that almost 31% of their students are from foreign lands?" They do. Why aren't they saying it? Because everybody fucking knows it. And yet those countries, some not at all friendly to the United States, pay nothing toward their students' education, nor do they ever intend to. And again, what the hell does this have to do with what? Where is the information on this? Again, we know somewhere around a third of Harvard's students are non-immigrant students. This is known. Some are not at all friendly to the United States. What does that mean? It means that their countries don't fucking grovel to you. Right? They're not licking the ring saying, "Thank you, sir." What does that mean, right? Are we taking Iranians in? Like, what does that actually mean? And again, that they're paying nothing. Again, a lot of these folks are paying a shit ton of money, an absolute shit ton of money. Nobody told us that. What the fuck are you talking about? Quote, "We want to know who those foreign students are. They've gone through the visa process." We have a fucking visa process. In order to come as a foreign student, they have to go through the visa process. Ergo, the federal government knows who the fuck they are. A reasonable request, you already have it, since we give Harvard billions of dollars. Again, Harvard does research. They're a research institution. So yes, in order to do research, they get billions of dollars from the government. A lot of institutions get billions of dollars from the government. That's how it works. But Harvard isn't exactly forthcoming. Maybe they're just fucking tired of you. Maybe it's so fucking exhausting dealing with such a petulant little baby. They don't know how to be forthcoming. Quote, we want those names and countries. You've got the names and countries. For the love of crikey, you literally have the names and countries. Harvard has $52 billion. I think this is an endowment. Use it and stop asking for the federal government to continue granting money to you. Again, Harvard's $52 billion endowment. That is a good question to start talking about. That is a great point of discussion. But much of the money, again, the government is giving and granting is for doing research. And we do that research in the United States so that we create the products and services and everything else that can keep our economy going. So again, right, Trump wants to kneecap Apple because Tim Cook doesn't bend the knee. He wants to kneecap NVIDIA. He wants to kneecap Ford. He wants to kneecap Harvard. Right? Because his tears are flowing. And then to truly make America great again, he wants to kneecap research funding. Because if we don't have research and we don't have manufacturing and we lose our place in the technology standing, that's gonna make us a great country again, I guess. So yeah, this is where you're at, right? If you are a non-immigrant student that comes to the United States, you will go through everything that you have to do in order to get here. At any time, your right to be here might be ripped away. And you literally are going to be under a surveillance system that is much like, perchance, the countries that you're trying to leave from. Again, any information about you here, Trump feels is his right to demand. And again, when he demands it, you're most likely going to get your ass locked in prison. Because if you put out a Facebook post that is not, pure thought, is not right thought, right? If you protest in a way little baby doesn't like, right? They have the right, they have the absolute right and will use the right to send in the jackbooted stormtroopers to throw you in prison and chuck you to whatever fucking hellhole they decide to chuck you into, regardless of if that's actually where you came from or not. And again, if you are a non-American, come on. Come on. How many people are going to risk this horse shit? How many people are going to risk this horse shit? And then what does that do to the U.S.? All of these resourced people, again, if you're going to get into Harvard, even if they're going to give you the scholarship or whatever, they're doing it for a fucking reason. Man, this isn't some like international trade school. It's not like some international community college, right? They've only got so many seats to put asses into. Even if they do give you a scholarship, they're giving you a fucking scholarship for a reason, right? Your mama is important, your daddy is important, you got some really fucking good grades on something. And he just wants to throw all of that away. He wants to throw all of that away. Is Trump creating a reasonable immigration system? No. Right? Is he funding the immigration court system that we have? Again, one of the problems that we have in the United States, one of the reasons we have the issue with a lot of the illegal immigrants and all that, is how long it takes to get a court date, right? They come in, they're given a piece of paper and told their court date is going to be in a year, and then they disappear in that time frame. So is the Trump administration going to fully fund that particular court system, so when somebody comes in the United States, right, we can put them somewhere for a week or whatever, they can go to trial, they can go in front of a judge, the judge can dispense what's going on, yes, you get asylum, no, you don't get asylum, and then it's done. you will notice with what Trump is doing, with all of this stuff, we are not getting trade schools. We are not getting hospitals. We are not getting doctors. We are not getting fully funded court systems. This is all about destruction. And again, when you ask, right, when you're like, why is Eli the computer guy talking about this? Because this is destroying our place in the world. He is speed running the destruction of America's place in the global order. And when that happens, again, I've talked about this before when the dot-com bust happened. Right? Oh, you guys, it's all funny, right? You're node developers. Eli, well, maybe if everybody was a node developer. Again, I had my MCSE, had the Cisco training, had the college degree, had the military, right? When the dot-com bubble busted, right? Literally, I got laid off from a pizza delivery job. My pizza delivery company went fucking bankrupt. I didn't get fired. I didn't walk into that pizza delivery job and go, I have a degree. I have my MCSE. I will not deliver pizzas no more. Walk out, motherfucker, I got laid off. Fuck. Sucked. Do you know what it's like to sit there as a veteran with a bachelor's degree and an MCSE and tech experience and get laid off from pizza delivery and literally not know what the fuck you're going to do next? I do know that. I have that lived experience. Do you know what it's like to go back to Baltimore City to a file clerk job making $10 an hour at Mercy Hospital, spending $300 a month to rent a room, just a room that's right on the ghetto, I literally went out, my landlord's dogs, took out the landlord's dogs. I walked 2 blocks into the neighborhood. A very nice older man looked at me. Are you lost? Because the only reason somebody this complexion is 2 blocks in that neighborhood is if they're lost. Do you know what it's like to buy gallon bottles of vodka for $10? Because that's about all you can afford is entertainment. As somebody with a college degree and veteran and blah, 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 bullshit, I do. When the macro goes sideways, it goes sideways in bizarre ways, in ways you do not expect. Again, when I talk about we got the hurricane here, we had Helene come through Asheville, and okay, all the rain comes down, and so we get the floods. Right? It's like, well, look at those assholes. Well, I mean, if you decided to build your house beside a river, I mean, come on now. Yeah, but what you weren't thinking about is all the houses that were on the hill, and literally the water came down for so long that it liquefied the dirt on the mountains, and literally entire sides of mountains just went away. Entire neighborhoods just fucking disappeared. And this isn't in places where there was like, oh, it was deforested and the rest of it. No, the forests were there. Just apparently the rock or the stone is about 8 feet below dirt level. And so once you get enough water, basically the water into the soil, the water has no place to go. And so it starts liquefying where the rock and the soil is. And so then all that shit just blah. So yeah, the people on the hilltop looking down at the people in the river like, I guess your fancy river house ain't so fancy now, is it? Yeah, well, bucko. Curiously enough, your entire neighborhood is now riverfront. Again, that's what I talk about with macro force. When macro forces start doing stupid crap, it just slides in ways you do not expect. Again, having been through the dot-com bust, having been through the Great Recession, crap. It just sucks. It just sucks. I mean, if we got to go there, we got to go there. But could we not speed run it? Could we not speed run it? So anyways, there you go. There's my screaming and ranting for the day. I'm going to try to do more stuff on technical. So I'm going to have a tea. I'm going to have some tea. I'm going to have some peppermint tea. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do another video so that I can go out tomorrow. We're going to talk about OpenAI. I do actually want to talk about technical stuff. So with the Daily Blob, most of the stuff, again, hopefully at the end of the day, will be about the technology industry. Like that, as you would understand it, as you would understand it. The issue is again, with what Trump is currently doing, so many of these things are affecting the macro forces. And I think a lot of folks just don't really grasp how that affects us in our careers, right? Again, again, you think about things like the economy, and you may not be thinking about, again, the illegal immigrants getting chucked out, again, self-deportations and all that. And here's the thing, whatever. But the issue, the question is how it gets done. So think about, you have these neighborhoods. You have these neighborhoods and you have illegal immigrants in the neighborhoods. Well, guess what? The illegal immigrants in the neighborhoods, they do work. They rent houses or rooms. They buy food, right? They are parts of the community. Here's the thing. What happens when 1,000 of them leave your neighborhood overnight? Again, think about the small-time landlords. Think about the small-time landlords. What happens when dozens or hundreds of folks leave the neighborhood overnight? What happens to the grocery stores? What happens to the people that they've been supporting? Again, lawn mowing service or whatever else, right? This has a real effect on the economy. We get paid. Again, when you're a technology professional, you are providing value to the company. Your job is not being a node developer. Your job is not about quality of service or default gateways or any of that horse crap. Your job is either to allow your company to sell more widgets, increase the efficiency of the system so more widgets can be sold, or to decrease the cost of widgets being sold so that the company makes more profit off of those widgets. That's your job. Your job is not being an MCSE. Your job is not being an architect. Your job is not artificial intelligence. Your job is bringing revenue and profit to the organization that you work for. Here's the thing. At scale, at the macro level, what happens when the entire economy starts going sideways? Again, what decisions do your executives make? What decisions do your managers have to make, and the rest of it? And that directly affects your job. Again, during the boom times, you go back to 2014, 2015, that was the time to do moonshots, right? If you could get on a moonshot project, that was a place to go. It was interesting, it was sexy, they were throwing money at you. Go do the moonshots. Economy starts going sideways, start dealing with the email servers. It's not sexy, it's not interesting, it's boring as shit, but the company needs the email servers, right? This is why this matters to your career. Again, the latest graphics card, buy it, don't buy it, I don't care. It may seem like the coolest thing in the world, but the fact of the matter is the latest graphics card probably doesn't have a damn thing to do with your career. Again, Trump going after Harvard and the ramifications of Trump going after Harvard, especially as it pertains to the foreign exchange students, that actually has an effect on your career. So anyways, anywho, just so you all know, when you watch this video, I will be at Web Summit. I will be at Web Summit Vancouver. That's gonna be weird. Going to Canada tomorrow. Yay! Yeah, going to Vancouver, going to Canada tomorrow. Going to be there for Web Summit. Gonna be interviewing a lot of folks there to talk about the real world of technology. So if you're at Web Summit, feel free to say hi. I might be tired and burned out because I'm going to be talking to a lot of people. Aspie having to talk to a lot of people for 4 days. Might not all be there, but I will be there, whether I'm fully there. So I will be going to Web Summit and expect to see a lot of interviews and a lot of conversations from the real world of technology. And with that, I'm going to go have some herbal tea and calm down so I can talk about OpenAI for a video. See y'all later.